What if the most consequential geopolitical shift of the 21st century wasn't happening in a boardroom, a battlefield, or a diplomatic summit, but along a frozen river at the edge of Siberia? For 7 decades, the 4,200-kilometer border between Russia and China was one of the most dangerous lines on Earth. Armed patrols, barbed wire, 2 nuclear superpowers frozen in mutual suspicion, barely a shipment of timber moving between them. The West watched, assumed it would stay that way, and moved on. That assumption has been catastrophically exposed, because right now, that same border is being dismantled, not with protests or politics, but with concrete, steel, and billions of dollars of coordinated infrastructure. Russia and China are not just improving their border, they are erasing it. And by the end of this video, you will understand why this corridor is the single most important strategic development that the United States and Europe are completely unprepared for. For most of the Cold War and well into the 21st century, Western strategic planners operated on a core assumption. Russia and China were rivals. They shared a border, yes, but they also shared centuries of territorial disputes, ethnic tension, and competing spheres of influence. The West believed, and in many cases still believes, that geography alone would keep them apart. That belief shaped NATO policy. It shaped sanctions strategy. It shaped every calculation Washington made after 2022 when the Ukraine conflict began and the first wave of economic pressure hit Moscow. The logic was simple. Isolate Russia and China would be too cautious, too economically entangled with the West to fill the gap. The logic was wrong. Between 2018 and 2023, annual trade between Russia and China grew from roughly $107 billion to more than $240 billion, more than doubling in 5 years. And that growth didn't happen through diplomatic speeches. It happened because both countries were quietly building the physical infrastructure to sustain it. New rail lines, new road crossings, new pipelines, and a strategy that had been in motion long before Western policymakers decided to pay attention. But wait, it gets worse. Because the infrastructure they were building wasn't just big, it was designed to be impossible to shut down from the outside. Then something shifted. In June 2022, the first permanent road bridge ever constructed between Russia and China opened to freight traffic at Blagoveshchensk-Heihe, 2 cities that had faced each other across the Amur River for over a century with nothing but a seasonal ferry and a temporary ice road connecting them. That bridge alone was a statement, but it was only the beginning. The same year, the Tongjiang railway bridge became the first rail crossing ever built between the 2 countries. And when it opened, it immediately restructured the math of cross-border trade. Cargo volumes surged within months. Coal, iron ore, and timber began rolling across in volumes that made the old ferry-dependent system look prehistoric. The bridge cut transport distances for Chinese goods moving into Russia by 1,500 kilometers. Not a marginal gain, a complete restructuring of supply chain geography, and neither country stopped at one bridge. In October 2025, officials announced a 3rd crossing, the Pashkovo-Jinin Bridge, connecting Russia's Jewish Autonomous Oblast with Jilin Province in China, stretching over 1 kilometer across the Amur. 3 permanent crossings over the same river, all built or announced within a 3-year window, all designed to handle different cargo types, different traffic volumes, and together creating a system with built-in redundancy. If one crossing is disrupted, the others absorb the load. That is not coincidence. That is deliberate engineering of an unbreakable corridor. But that's not the whole story. Because bridges are visible, bridges get photographed and reported on. What is less visible, and far more consequential, is what is happening underground and beneath the riverbed. Because while the world's attention was on diplomacy and sanctions, Russia and China were quietly replacing the actual arteries of their shared economy. At Sino-Russian, one of the oldest rail crossings on the border, the tunnels that trains had been crawling through since around 1900 were finally torn out. A brand new 602-meter railway tunnel was begun in May 2024 and completed by May 2025. By September of that year, the full upgrade was finished. Trains that once crept through crumbling, century-old infrastructure can now move at up to 120 kilometers per hour, roughly double the speed the old tunnels could safely handle. When your rail infrastructure is older than the Soviet Union itself, replacing it isn't maintenance. It's a declaration of intent, and what they discovered in the process of rebuilding caught even the project engineers off guard. The throughput gains were not linear. Faster tunnels didn't just speed up individual trains, they unlocked the ability to run significantly more trains per day through the same corridor, multiplying total cargo capacity in ways the original projections hadn't fully anticipated. Here's where it gets revolutionary. While Western governments were debating whether new sanctions would finally break Russian resolve, Moscow and Beijing were executing a logistics strategy that sanctions cannot touch. And the centerpiece of that strategy is energy. The original Power of Siberia pipeline, completed in 2019, already pumps approximately 30 billion cubic meters of Russian natural gas into China every year. But that wasn't enough. Construction is now underway on a second pipeline, the Far Eastern route, running from Russia's Sakhalin Island directly into northeastern China. Gazprom has confirmed that gas will begin flowing through this second line in January 2027, adding up to 12 billion cubic meters of annual capacity. Combined, the two operational pipelines will carry over 40 billion cubic meters per year, and that is before Power of Siberia 2, a proposed third pipeline that would add another 50 billion cubic meters annually, even breaks ground. Here's what that number means in practice. Pipeline gas cannot be intercepted at sea. It cannot be blockaded by a naval force. It cannot be redirected by a competing buyer offering a higher price. Once a pipeline is built and gas starts flowing, the economic relationship it represents is effectively permanent. The West spent decades using energy as a lever of geopolitical influence. Russia and China have just built a system where that lever no longer applies to them. And Washington is scrambling. The US has pushed European allies to reduce Russian gas imports, accelerate LNG infrastructure, and diversify energy suppliers since 2022. Those efforts have had real effects in Europe, but they have had zero effect on the flow going east. European energy independence from Russia means Russian gas that once went west is now going east instead, feeding exactly the corridor that Western planners were hoping to choke. This is where the miscalculation becomes a crisis. But here's what most people are completely missing. This corridor is not just an energy story. It is not just a trade story. It is the foundation of an entirely new global logistics architecture by it, one that routes the movement of commodities around the choke points that Western power has historically controlled. Consider grain. Russia is the world's largest wheat exporter. For most of the modern era, that wheat left Russia through the Black Sea, ports that could be pressured, blockaded, or destabilized by geopolitical conflict. That dependency was always a vulnerability. Russia is now eliminating it. The Russian government has approved a massive expansion of Zarubino port on the Pacific coast, including a grain terminal engineered to handle 33.5 million tons per year, loading onto vessels up to 91,000 tons in capacity for export across Asia. The first major corn shipment from Zarubino was already described as a historic milestone, given that the port previously handled ships of only 3,000 to 5,000 tons. At the Tongjiang crossing on the Amur, a 15 billion ruble grain terminal, roughly 160 million US dollars, is being built specifically to funnel Russian wheat, corn, and soybeans into the Chinese market. The fields that fed Europe for generations are being systematically replumbed to feed Asia instead. By 2030, analysts project that more than 60% of Russia's agricultural exports will flow east rather than west, a complete reversal of the orientation that existed as recently as 2021. That is not just a trade shift. That is a rewriting of which bloc feeds which part of the world, with profound implications for food security, geopolitical leverage, and the long-term balance of economic power. Most people have no idea this is already happening. Paint the picture clearly. In 2022, the West believed that coordinated economic pressure, sanctions, asset freezes, export controls, energy decoupling could fundamentally alter the trajectory of Russian power. 3 years later, Russia's trade with China alone has surpassed $240 billion annually. New pipelines are in the ground, new bridges are open, new rail tunnels are operational, new port capacity is coming online. And a cross-border cable car, the first of its kind anywhere in the world, now carries passengers and freight between two cities that were functionally isolated from each other a decade ago. Every project in this corridor was designed with one operational principle: redundancy, 3 bridges instead of 1, 2 pipelines instead of 1 with a third in negotiation, multiple grain terminals across multiple crossing points, multiple rail corridors with overlapping capacity. When any individual element is pressured or disrupted, the others absorb the volume and the corridor keeps moving. This is not the architecture of a trade relationship. This is the architecture of a sanctions-proof economic alliance. And the question that should keep Western strategists awake is not whether the US can shut this corridor down. It clearly cannot. The real question is what a world looks like in which the largest energy producer and the largest manufacturing economy on Earth operate through a shared infrastructure spine that exists entirely outside the reach of Western financial and logistical pressure. Do you believe the United States and Europe still have the strategic tools to respond to this, or has the window already closed? Leave your answer below, because what comes next in this story will determine the shape of global power for the next 50 years. 7 decades ago, 2 superpowers built a border designed to stop everything from moving. Today, that same 4,200-kilometer stretch of river and steppe is the most expensive construction site on the planet, and every crane, every tunnel-boring machine, every pipeline welding crew is pointed in the same direction, not toward conflict, toward permanence. The Iron Curtain that once divided Russia and China has been replaced by something far more durable, an iron corridor that no external power has the leverage or the infrastructure to disrupt. What is being built here is not a temporary response to Western pressure. It is the foundation of a new economic order, one that has been under construction for years while the West was watching somewhere else. If this opened your eyes to what is really reshaping the world beneath the headlines, you won't want to miss what we cover next. Subscribe now and stay ahead of the shift. Stay ahead of the shift.